how Ralph Rangnick could transform Fred and McTominay's Manchester United careers. If you want affordable, good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, then I would definitely recommend jerseyfever.com. I have bought a number of different products from Jersey Fever, but my favourite has to be my 2003-2004 Manchester United Ronaldo shirt, which I got after Ronaldo re-signed for Manchester United, and it only cost £30, which is a great price and most importantly great quality as well. Use my link in the description, and when you go to checkout, use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL to get 5% off as well. So first of all, I'm going to give a brief analysis of a topic that may seem relevant to both Fred and McTominay, but by the end I think it will help you understand my later analysis a bit better. So there are players in the game who can be average for large parts of their career, but then they all of a sudden change position or change role and go from an average player in that old position to a top level player in their new position. Antonio Valencia was a perfect example of this. He arrived at Manchester United in 2009 as Ronaldo's replacement, and for the next 2 to 3 seasons he played predominantly as a right winger. Around 2012ish, Valencia did start to be used as a right back by Ferguson at times when Rafael was unavailable. This was because as a right winger, Valencia was very limited. He could receive the ball on the flank after a long pass from Scholes, and when under control he could really only do one thing, which was dribble at the left back before shifting the ball quickly down the line and using his acceleration to drive past a player and then drilling across the box for either Van Persie or Rooney coming in. Whilst the inside forward type of Mo Salah or Heung-min Son hadn't fully started to replace the traditional wingers by this point, it was being phased out, and so Valencia now seemed mostly like a decent option in the right midfield position, in a midfield 4, but nothing special. So when Ferguson initially began to use Valencia as a makeshift right back, there wasn't much backlash in terms of his attacking play being limited. However, his powerful dribbling ability and crossing on the overlap was much better than most right backs in the league, and so it seemed like a long-term transition. Valencia really started to establish himself as a top level right back when Jose Mourinho came in 2016, and Valencia fought off the competition from Matteo Darmian to nail down that starting position, and between the years of 2016 to 2018, Valencia both defensively and offensively was in the top 3 best right backs in the league consistently. This is a fantastic example of how life can be re-injected into a so-called average player's career by a positional change. However, sometimes it doesn't even have to be a complete position change to reignite a player's career. Jorginho Wijnaldum under Klopp and Raheem Sterling under Guardiola are fantastic examples of how changing a player's role and playing him in a system that gets the best out of his strengths can completely transform the player's career. Wijnaldum at PSV and then at Newcastle was seen mostly as a playmaking, attacking central midfielder who would play in front of a midfield double pivot, being given the freedom to push further forward. Under Klopp, Wijnaldum started being used as a wide central midfielder in a narrow midfield 3, being given the job of an all-round pressing midfielder, pushing up into the final third but also providing a defensive cover down the flanks. This got the best out of Wijnaldum's energy, aggression and reading of the game, and for a period between 2018 and 2020, it would be fair to consider Wijnaldum a top-level central midfielder, probably in the top 10 in Europe if ranked at that point. Sterling's issue at Liverpool was that he was being played most as a centre forward in Rodgers' last season, and so when he would miss big opportunities, the flaws in his game seemed more apparent. Even during his first season at City, he was playing more as a natural winger, holding his width and not getting into goal-scoring positions as much, but Guardiola started to use him higher and wider on the left or right side of a front 3 and was able to teach Sterling how to time his runs from out to in perfectly, and so Sterling began to get in behind opposition defences a lot more often and therefore into goal-scoring positions more often, seeing him going from scoring 11 goals in 47 appearances in the 2015-2016 season to 23 in 46 appearances in 2017-2018 under Guardiola and 25 and 51 in the 2018-19 season, showing how the right manager can bring a player up a few levels within a few seasons or so. This is exactly what I think Ralph Rangnick could do with Fred and McTominay, with a role change for one and a positional change for the other. But before I get into the main breakdown of the video, I have set up a Patreon where for £5 a month, every week you'll get 2 exclusive Patreon videos, one on any topic voted for by patrons and one on Manchester United specifically, and you'll also get a weekly newsletter where I talk about events from the Premier League to all across Europe that week. So that's 8 extra videos a month plus a weekly newsletter for £5. So if you want to sign up and support the channel, a link will be left in the description. And I've already got a Patreon video out where I talk about my thoughts on the overall situation on Ralf Rangnick and Manchester United right now, so check that out. But if not, just watching the video for the whole length, checking out some of my other videos after this, and subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like are all much appreciated as well. So over the past year or so, it seems like United's lack of midfield quality has really been made apparent, with Fred and McTominay showing that they aren't great deep lying creators, they don't offer much going forward, they aren't press resistant, and defensively both have faults as well. So many were rightly asking if they were even the level United needed from the bench, let alone from starting positions. But with Ralf Rangnick coming in as interim manager till the end of the season, I can see both players maybe having resurgences and maybe being able to redirect their careers, as players like Wijnaldum, Idris Gueye, Roberto Firmino, or even Sadio Mane have been able to do in their mid-20s. See, Fred's best attributes are his pressing, aggression in the pressure, energy, and his ability to play passes into space, which are all well suited to Rangnick's defensive style, which is one of aggressive high pressing, and his offensive style, which is quick transitions with long passes in behind. Fred showed against Chelsea and then against Arsenal, which were both games I analysed and will be linked in the description below, that he can perform the role of an energetic presser, applying pressure to Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek in their defensive and middle thirds, but also doing well to cut off the passing lanes in behind to Reece James, when the right back would take up a position in the half space. This is why I think Fred could be quite a good central midfield option either side of a deep single pivot in a midfield three, as he can be the player to sit deep in possession, playing passes in behind, but also can be the player to shuttle out to the flanks when United don't have the ball and put in challenges to break up play. In the middle of the pitch, he is fantastic at stopping players, having time on the ball, and so similar to Marcel Sabitzer, I could see Fred either playing on the left side of a double pivot in a 4-2-2-2 or as a wide midfielder in the two behind the forwards, pressing the opposition's deeper lying players. Fred is a rather limited central midfielder in my opinion, really only being able to play this sort of role of a pressing midfielder at a high level, where he can carry out specific pressing and marking instructions, but when he plays in a midfield two from where he's encouraged to drop deep in the build-up phase to get on the ball and receive the ball under pressure, he does struggle. Not only does he lack the creative ability on the ball to be a main creator in possession, defensively he is far too vulnerable to be a sole ball winner as well because of his poor one-on-one defending ability in the centre of the park. But Fred does excel when he's able to drive forward with the ball through the centre of the field, or when he's around the box, and is fairly good with his quick one-touch interplay, so he does provide the ability to progress the ball forward a lot more than McTominay does. And I could see the manager after Rangnick using Fred as a so-called 12th player, a player who when everyone is fit against most teams won't start, but he is first to be brought into the starting 11 if the side needs greater pressing ability and energy in midfield. McTominay as well is a player who doesn't really excel at anything in particular and is what you may call a jack of all trades, master of none, meaning that he's fairly good at a range of different things on the pitch with his aerial ability, standing, tackling, positional play and ability to circulate the ball in possession being fairly good, but he's not top level at any of them. But McTominay has all the assets to make a great utility player for Rangnick. A utility player is a player who's in the squad but doesn't have a defined role that he plays from week to week and has the versatility to play 2 or 3 different roles in the system. Notable utility men in the Premier League are James Milner and Saul Niguez. Both are able to play at left back, wide midfielder and central midfielder, with Milner also being used at right back as well quite frequently. Javier Zanetti was arguably the best utility player of all time, being able to play anywhere in midfield as well as at fullback and still perform to an exceptionally high level. This is what McTominay could become for Manchester United to a lesser degree. Whilst only really being used as a central midfielder at Manchester United in the past few years, he was used at centre back under Mourinho and has been used as a right-sided centre back in a back 5 for Scotland, and it's this last row where I think McTominay could be used. In my match analysis of the Chelsea game, I pointed out that McTominay was kind of being used as a half midfielder, half centre back, sitting high in midfield with Matic, but following Callum Hudson-Odoi's movement ahead of play, and often found himself essentially marking the half space for most of the game, and he did get man of the match for that performance. I could see Rangnick using McTominay as a right-sided centre-back in a back 3, as he has the aerial and positional abilities to play that role. He would need to improve his concentration and marking around the box, as I do think he loses his man too often in those situations, but I do think that this is something that can be improved by coaching, which Rangnick will no doubt try to do. In possession, McTominay would no longer operate in the congested centre of the field, where he gets pressurised as soon as he receives the ball, and so his lack of press resistance and quick passing ability aren't going to limit his game as much. On the right of a back three, United can switch the ball and have McTominay drive forward with the ball, which he can do, and then look for a forward pass into players between the lines, under less pressure than he would otherwise be under if he was playing in central midfield. If you remember in the game last season against Leeds United, and even this season's game as well, we saw McTominay being able to exploit Leeds' man-to-man pressing style by running off his man and receiving the ball in space before driving forward, breaking past Leeds' midfield line. While playing as a right-sided centre-back, McTominay's ability to do this could be enhanced further, as when the ball gets switched from the left side of the back three to the right side, McTominay will have space where the opposition hasn't yet shifted over to drive with the ball, replicating what we saw from him in central midfield against Leeds. If Rangnick were to use a back three or a back five, then I could see him potentially using McTominay as an underlapping centre-back when United have the ball. We saw Chris Wilder do this at Sheffield United, using Chris Basham and James O'Connell as overlapping wide centre-backs in a 5-3-2 shape, and with McTominay's ball-carrying ability and energy that he could use in this role, making runs on the inside and outside of Jadon Sancho to not only provide a forward passing option in behind the back line, but this would also drag away opposition players, opening up more space for Sancho on the ball. I do even think that McTominay could be used as a right back in a back four, sitting deeper than Shaw on the left side, but still using his ability to drive forward with the ball inside of the wide player, which should aid United's ability to progress the ball forward when the opposition side drops behind the ball in their defensive shape, as currently anytime the ball goes into Wan-Bissaka, he takes a few touches to get the ball out of his feet, slowing down the attack and allowing the opposition to close up the spaces, and then he rarely has the vision or ability to see and then play those incisive passes, and so ends up turning backwards to recycle the ball. McTominay isn't fantastic at playing forward passes, penetrating the opposition's midfield, but he is certainly better at doing it than Wan-Bissaka, so without doubt this should improve United's ability to attack down the right flank. So that was my explanation of how Ralph Rangnick could improve Fred and McTominay at Manchester United, potentially making them valuable first team players. Let me know what you think in the comments, give the video a like, and if you want to see exclusive content, 2 extra videos per week plus a newsletter, then click the link in the description to go to my Patreon. It will help support the channel, but so will just watching the videos till the end and giving the video a like, which are all very much appreciated.